I'm freezing though.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, we're in the Pacific Northwest. It's not cold. It feels perfect. Absolutely perfect in this van. Like, absolutely perfect. If I could spend every day in this weather, I would.
I'm cold.
Today, we are going to be telling you the numbers of our van conversion. The conversion is over. All the receipts have been tallied. A stack about that high of receipts has been tallied. It took me like an hour yesterday going through those receipts. But we got together some numbers for you. And we've gotten together what we spent on this van conversion. We reconverted this van, right? So we had some existing materials. We had an $800 fridge. We had about a $2,000 solar setup, about a $200 fan. All that stuff, including some reclaimed materials, we did not factor into this cost, right? So this is telling you what our cost was this time, not necessarily telling you what you will spend on a van conversion, because I think we would have spent a few thousand, probably at least $3,000 to $4,000 more. That being said, these are our numbers for what we spent and what we spent them on and why, a little bit of why, just a tiny little taster of why we chose to go with those products. If you have more detailed questions about any of this, feel free to comment. We'll get in there and we'll dig into some details, but this is just kind of a surface level of why we spent what we spent.
So we have 10 32 square foot foam insulation boards, 3 big rolls of Reflectix, 2 small rolls of Reflectix, and 34 cans of spray foam.
First things first is insulation. The days of no insulation for us are over.
So we need to stick them on, so we're going to use this adhesive.
We spent, I feel like we should drum roll all this. Thanks. We spent $700 on insulation. A lot of money on insulation.
Yeah.
We bought about $300 of foam board insulation and about $300 of spray foam insulation, along with some Reflectix. So that's all of it. And if you guys saw our videos, you saw that we basically used foam board along the whole walls, roof, everything else. And we just did that because it packed the most punch for its size. So we lost very little space while getting really, really solid insulation. And we're already feeling that. Like, it's really comfortable in this van right now, and it's very wet and cold outside.
Yeah.
So I would say that I'm very pleased with how it turned out. It turned out very clean and very sleek and allowed us to frame everything out really efficiently. So about $700 on insulation is the grand total there.
Next is electrical. Electrical was in total $250, and that does not include the stuff that we already had, like our battery and our solar panels and any cords we needed to connect to those. That's really the expensive piece of it. But the $250 includes all of the wiring that we use. So that's wiring the lights, the fan, the sink pump, the heater, things like that. And that was way more expensive than I expected it to be. That was 12 gauge stranded wire that we used for everything. And I would say the bulk of the $250 was that. But then the lights were not that expensive. They were maybe $40. So then the other thing was, and if you guys go back and watch some of our build videos, you'll see this whole process. In order to connect our 12 volt applications to the battery that we had, we needed some really special crimpers and connectors and things like that. So that also added to it.
So this is kind of a broad category. I'm just gonna call building materials. So this is all of the lumber that we bought, plus all the screws and the, handles and the clamps and all kinds of random stuff, right? So this is just like anything that we use to build the bulk of the frame for the van and the drawers and all that stuff. That was really where the cost came in. We spent $1,850 there. Oh,
wow.
A lot of that obviously just came in lumber. Lumber is super expensive, and we had to buy a bunch of plywood obviously for this. Plywood ends up being hundreds of dollars, so you buy enough of it. We had to buy a bunch of like nice board. Like, we bought a bunch of poplar board to frame out everything because we didn't want
boards.
Excuse me? Beams, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 1x3s.
Yeah.
So a bunch of poplar, and the reason we did poplar instead of just really cheap stuff is because it doesn't bow. And we wanted something that was really, really strong. And we have already found that driving along with really strong wood is so key, because you're pretty much putting your car through an earthquake, or your house through an earthquake every time you drive. So if you have really soft wood or flexible wood or whatever, you're gonna have a lot of warping and womp. And we ran into that in our last build. We wanted to stay rock solid this time.
So I haven't noticed any creaking
Nope.
or any shifting or anything
Nothing.
like that, which did happen in our last build because we kind of cheaped out on some of our materials. But having that, we only use poplar really for our framing.
Right.
So that's what everything is attached to.
Right.
And it has been a game changer in my
It's
opinion.
been huge. All that wood, and then obviously things like the handles and the rails that the drawers are on, all that's super expensive. All that good stuff, special screws and, attachments for the drill and stuff like that. So anyway, $18.50 is what we're gonna call building materials. Fourth category is our plumbing. Plumbing cost us about $200, and that includes our faucet. We already had the sink, which was about a $100 sink. So we got our faucet, we got the pump for the plumbing, and we got all the different attachments to create the gray water system, especially was pretty expensive. It might have been $100 altogether. And then also random stuff like the tanks we're using and the vinyl tubing. So that all accounted to about $200, which I think is actually pretty cheap.
Yeah,
All
it's
things
not that bad.
considered. I'm not too
Especially
worried about
because the pump was $90, I
Yeah.
want to say. So that was a huge piece of it.
Yeah. Only $200 for plumbing. Didn't break the bank. Plumbing has been a pain though. Make sure you get the right materials on plumbing, because if you mess up plumbing, it's kind of like electrical. If you mess up plumbing, even more than electrical, you're gonna just hate every day. Like, if your gray water is not working or something, every day is gonna suck.
So lastly is kind of like what we're calling decorations and homemaking. We don't really know what to call it. For our homemaking stuff, we spent in total $500. Does that include the counter?
Yeah.
So that includes kind of anything more aesthetic. So the counter, the cushions, our IKEA trip.
That is most of the cost too.
That's most of the cost. So that was like our rack for our soap and our like dish cleaning things and all of that.
We had one IKEA receipt, and it was
Yeah.
like 4 feet long. I was trying to take pictures of it to document, and I could not fit it all in one.
Yeah.
It was our only IKEA receipt.
It was a lot.
Like
So
$300.
yeah, but that's like our magnetic knife
Yeah.
knife strip,
Right.
any of our shelving or organizational things, our plants, and just things that kind of make it feel more like home.
Homey.
So that's really important, when you're building a van. But yeah, the IKEA stuff was probably the bulk of it. But then that also includes our $100 countertop and probably on $100 in couch cushions.
Last category here. This isn't exactly included in the van conversion, but we did spend a lot of money on this, so I wanted to throw it in here. We really didn't have any tools. I borrowed some tools, so we were able to work with some. But even those tools are pretty old, so I ended up replacing everything but one of them. We spent $800 on tools, and that included a $300 nail gun, and then $120 for things like a drill and a jigsaw, and a sander. Wasn't quite that much, but almost, and stuff like that. So we built ourselves, as you might have seen before, in our garage. We have a whole tool set. We basically have a workshop back there. $800 was spent on tools, and obviously that's an investment, but it did hike up the price of the conversion quite a bit. I don't know if you're coming in with tools or not, but
Just because we've had a couple of questions about it, do you want to talk about like maybe the basic tools that you'd recommend getting before? If you don't have any good tools, like what would you recommend?
Sure, it's basically that list I just said. The stuff we bought was a nail gun that is battery powered, and spent extra money on a nice battery for that. The second one was a drill. We bought a circular saw, a jigsaw, a sander, and those were the big five. The other one that we borrowed was a miter saw. So that would have been hard to build without that miter saw, and we did not buy that.
Yeah.
But the other five were kind of the big,
And we're able to bring those with us, and
Right.
we can kind of, if we need to make repairs and things like that, we have
Right.
everything we
Right.
need.
But if you've got those 6 tools, I think you should be able to build a van. I mean,
Yeah.
other than random stuff like screwdriver, I don't know, random
Yeah.
odds and ends, but those big main tools, you should be good.
Yeah. We would have loved to have a table saw. That
That's a
would have
little
been
bit,
amazing.
we could have made these drawers just
Yeah.
silky smooth and fresh. They're close, They're circular saw drawers, not table saw drawers, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's about it. The grand total for the whole conversion was $3,500 was it. Our budget was $5,000.
Yeah. I feel amazing about that.
Give me some love. Yeah, it's huge, dude. I'm really excited about that. I feel great about that. And if you include the cost of the tools, it's $4,300. So there's that. We spent close to like 43, but yeah, 3,500.
Yeah.
Not too crazy. And it's crazy how much. I mean, we changed everything. It wasn't just updates. I mean, that's like a complete reshape from top to bottom.
Just to give you guys an idea of maybe what it would have cost us before, if this was our first build and we were buying fresh our battery, our fridge, and all of the things that we already had. Our last build was about $8,000. And so that's probably, I would say,
more realistic. Also, obviously, outside the cost of the van. That's the big cost. Yeah. But yeah, 3,500, dude. I want to encourage you, if you're a fellow amateur builder that doesn't know what they're doing like us, it's very doable to build a nice van in a short amount of time with a limited budget. Before you guys go, I wanted to mention something really quickly. We've talked a lot about our finances, obviously, and how we live on the road financially. And I just want to shout out Lumerit Education. We talked about them before. They're a company that I work for and we've both worked for in the past, and we're really big fans of them. And the reason I'm talking about this now is because realistically, the only way we could live out on the road is the fact that we don't have any debt. We don't have any debt from college, and we both have bachelor's degrees. And
the fact that we could pay for our entire home. We own our home.
Right.
Like we don't have any loans or anything like that on this vehicle.
Exactly. And the key for us to living out here is just that freedom of knowing that, month to month, we don't have all this baggage. So Lumerit Education really specializes in keeping you out of debt in college. And for us, it was also keeping us on the road. It was kind of a combination of those two things, of giving us the flexibility. We weren't on the road yet when we were doing our degrees, but giving us the flexibility to travel a lot and go at our own pace for our degree while staying debt free. So I won't talk about it too much, but seriously, they are an amazing company. I could not talk more highly of them because they've impacted our life so much and allow us to be out here on the road. So shout out to them. We have a link if you'd like to talk to them about staying debt free in your college degree. They can for free put together some options for you, and they're all good friends of ours. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So anyway, link is in the description, guys. I hope you check them out and hope they can do you some good. Amazing people over there. Check them out. All right, y'all. Thanks for sticking around. New videos coming out every Saturday, Monday, and Wednesday. So if you're new here, feel free to jump along for the ride. All right. See y'all later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.